Welcome to today's debate on talent sourcing, finding skilled labour to meet the manufacturing demand. The industry is in a period of unprecedented growth, but company growth is restricted by the lack of available skilled labour. This panel will discuss short, medium and long-term strategies to mitigate this issue. I'm joined to my extreme right by John Mitchell, President of IPC. To his left we have Jenny Huang from H Technologies, and then to my right we have Najat Madria. I apologize for messing up your name, from Naprotech. So welcome, panelists. I'll go straight in with my first question, and I'll go to you, John. How bad is the talent pool today? I mean, are shortages confined to specific geographic locales?
So I have the opportunity to travel the world. We have members in Asia, Europe, etc. And really the talent shortage is global. And it's not just in the last couple of years. We've had a talent shortage for many years. So as we go around, the types of talents that are short are really changed depending on the type of business you're in the electronics industry, as well as what you're looking for. So in some cases there's trouble. We have issues in the United States, both in finding engineers as well as operators. So it's really at all levels, and it's a strong concern. And now, especially in many places, there's nearing full employment, and with that, it's just even more difficult to find skilled labor to meet the needs.
Right. Would you agree with that, Jenny?
Sure. I agree that with unemployment heading 3.5%, I guess the workforce, the labor force is very tight. And as far as technical and manufacturing, and I see with such employment, it's really not confined to any geographic regions or territory, particularly, of course, in the U.S. Globally, because each country has their own economic structure and employment situation. But I think within the U.S., I don't really see confined to any of the geographic areas. But the degree of the shortage perhaps depends on and also varies with the expertise and the skill sets. So it really depends on which skill sets. For example, like today's artificial intelligence, in a very broad scope. Reportedly, in the U.S., probably about more than 35,000 jobs opportunities opening. But with available expertise, people in the area, only 20,000. So you can see the big gap between the demands and the supply of this particular expertise.
Yeah. Well, AI is one of these requirements that goes across multiple tech industries, not just our electronics industry, but so that's going to be a premium job going forward. Right. Najat, you're really at the sharp end of this because you run a manufacturing company in Silicon Valley where it's already difficult to get people. What issues are you facing?
I'm concerned more about the future than right now. We are a small company, so we are covered. We are doing well so far. The future is going to be really concerning everybody. Employees age, and those with the big knowledge and expertise, those are retiring, and how we're going to be able to replace them moving forward in the future is going to be the big challenge.
I think that's a very relevant point. I mean, John, manufacturing engineering jobs are just not attractive to millennials these days.
Yeah, and it even goes beyond millennials down to your Gen Zers, because for years, I know I'm guilty as a parent, sitting there going, hey, I'd like my children to go off and they go to college, become the knowledge worker, etc. And when you're talking more about manufacturing, there's this stigma out there that manufacturing is for some reason a dirty job or something that is not high tech and
or high paid.
Or high paying, and they may be right in that fact, but they are when you think about today's manufacturing environment, it utilizes AI, it's got robotics, you've got additive manufacturing. There's a lot of really cool technology that we're trying to get the word out about, through several of our efforts as an institute, but I can talk more about that later. But definitely there is a stigma, and we need to work as an industry, and we need to work fairly early in a child's lifetime and with the parents as well to help them understand that there are really great careers, and not all of them are low paying. You can become a skilled worker with no education and make six figures just through the right trainings. So there are opportunities out there, and we need to do a good job of educating the world about what those are.
Jenny, I mean, would you think that with smart factory and AI technologies coming down the pike, that the requirement for the jobs in the factories are going to get higher? The type of skill levels we're going to need are going to become much higher, and it's going to become even more difficult to get people in future.
Yeah, and overall, yes, I think manufacturing, not just manufacturing, engineering overall, historically, I will call it as an attraction deficit. So attraction deficit. So to not just the young people and the millennials, but also overall, even our generation, and it's not considered to be glamorous. I serve on the advisory for some of the dean of the engineering school in the university. One of the things I challenged him, I said, well, in one of the challenges you have on your, vision and strategy is how to make engineering education to start with, to make it feel more glamorous. And they were kind of laughing. So how could it be the glamorous? I said, well, the people are really enamored a lot by high profile, high earning jobs, which is not manufacturing and not even engineering. So, but however, I think as John mentioned, the AI, the smart factories, and others say new technology going to be utilized in manufacturing. I think that's going to be a bright spot. It's going to be quite a good of encouraging area for the people getting into the manufacturing, getting into the engineering field. In the manufacturing, we can make it broader, including engineering from design, and not just production, manufacturing. We will also from the design stage. So overall, it's broadly the engineering field, and then and work in a specific manufacturing production environment.
Najat, I mean, what would you like to see happen that would help you to attract the right skill sets for your company?
Well, definitely better education, and you start with the school system. So I'm fortunate that I'm in San Jose, in the Silicon Valley, and the city of San Jose is working really hard on spreading the word and educating the community. We have a student program where they come and visit us at the company, and you're talking about high schooler and college student. So we had tour last year. I received approximately 150 students, and so we give them tour, trying to get the attraction right. So you want the student to start seeing what is the manufacturing building look like, or what is the manufacturing process. And I was amazed with the reaction from the student walk in and how clean the building, the first reaction, right? And how cool this equipment. And we have them now touch even some of the processes, loading component on the board. And so I felt like this is just a broad different perspective, an eye-opener, definitely. So you wanted to attract the new generation to the contract manufacturing, and everybody's head, I wanted to grow up and I wanted to work at Apple, Google, Facebook. So how we're going to attract them to come and work in the contract manufacturing is going to be exactly Facebook, So with large company like that, and everybody, all the engineers want to work with them, So we're doing our best.
That kind of feeds into what you've just said. It feeds into one of the programs that John's working on with IPC, because you're actually going down to the high school level.
Yeah. So we end of last year we reestablished the IPC Education Foundation, and the mission of the foundation, it's a nonprofit, and we're looking to get funding through the industry. But the mission is really so as you're aware, IPC trains hundreds of thousands of people who are already in the industry.
Yep.
But this is to really focus on those who are not in the industry. We're setting up college chapters. We're also going out to the high schools through the CTE programs. And our goal is to provide mini certifications, little badges, if you will, that basically will allow a high school student to, maybe for a summer job, go to Najet's company and say, hey, I'm certified in this sort of thing. Maybe you could get me a little summer internship. Because just like she said, once they get in there, they realize this is really good stuff. Right. And it's interesting, but they have to get past that image. So we're looking to use our online platforms to really spread this to millions of high school students over the coming years.
Right.
And very excited about that.
Right. Absolutely. So what other programs and incentives can we use, Jenny, to try and attract college students and younger people?
Sure. I think overall, if we look at short-term, mid-term, and the long-term, really have to starting from the K to 12. Okay, and I think you mentioned about the high school, and actually even pre-K to 12, which National Academy of Engineering we've been working on is really do a study and to see what are really the factors really involved to encourage the young kids to be interested in science engineering, because therefore that's really directly related to the manufacturing in the future. And so another area is the educators. We need educators for the K to 12, and also we need the implementation of a curriculum to really make a high visibility and awareness of the importance of engineering. And most important, I think, is attraction and appealing part and the rewarding part of engineering profession and the career. So that is I think one of incentive. For example, we can use a role model. Actually, there are many very successful people. They are in engineering training and they become a very high earning, okay, and they're very successful in many different ways in life and also in career. So we should be able to leverage those role models, and then of course the engagement of professional societies. Like IPC and SMTA, and making all the formal, informal programs and activities and the events, whether in the workshop format or in the advanced courses, and those, to continue and provide those programs.
Yeah, but Jenny, you sit on some of the government advisory boards, and obviously this particular administration is trying very hard to bring more jobs back to the United States. Is there anything happening at the government level to help, create programs to fill the skills gap?
I'll let you go ahead. You have some. I've got a couple because, as you know, we have offices in the DC. So we've been meeting with the White House. In fact, 2 weeks ago, just talking specifically about some of the workforce initiatives. There's a specific initial pledge right now that actually IPC is looking to launch here in the coming weeks. It's not official yet, but we'll be coming out with it. The White House is really striving to get the industry to commit, all industries, but we're doing it on behalf of the electronics industries, to commit to how many new jobs, certifications, and training programs that will happen to really build this out. I mean, there was one study that showed by 2025 that there will be approximately a 2 million worker deficit, as you were talking about, looking to the future, in the manufacturing arena. And so if we don't start now, as you were saying earlier, I mean, I read one study that really there are people's, a child's ability to do engineering or interest in engineering starts at third grade with their reading. Mm-hmm. And if they're not getting enough reading and exploratory options, then they just don't open up to those other options there. So the government's got that workforce initiative. They're doing an apprenticeship initiative here in this country. In EU, you have the whole skills gap initiative, and I've sat on a couple of panels for that as well. So the governments are trying to do what as best they can, but it really takes a government and industry partnership to make this really work.
I agree. Sorry?
Yes, I say one an entity as an advisory to the nation, certainly to all the federal government agencies. As I mentioned before, we are doing several studies. From what are the factors affecting. For example, I cannot list all the studies, but for example, as what are the factors really make the young people not going to pursue the engineering and the science or STEM overall, because without the engineering basic foundation as a foundational platform, it's very hard to get into the manufacturing sector. So there's really also the education-wise, we have a two paths, right? Doesn't have to be people they are not really want to go to college or not in the position to go to college. They can go to the associate degree, get a certain basic training. I think they'll be very well to fit to future. Try to, the administration try to build the future manufacturer sector, continue, bring back, as you mentioned, bring back the manufacturer, because we do have the real shortage about the people in this area. So I think the education and the collaboration, university also offer a lot of different programs as well, is to make a transition, of people able to handle the manufacture of a operation, whether in any from design, to the final product packing, all the difference, low tech and to the high tech areas.
Right. Now, Jack, would you agree that you don't need graduate engineers for every position in the factory?
Definitely, yes. Experience is very important, and right now there is a program where we are taking intern student, or even those who don't want it to continue their education, and they're just looking for career or getting some training. So again, with the cooperation or collaboration with the city of San Jose, we are working on multiple programs, and one of them we are receiving intern at Naprotech. We've been doing it for the last 3 years. I actually do every year summer student, but now more different groups. There is Work to Future program with the city, and this is they are placing employee in different manufacturing or electronic business or the companies basically in general, and just by going through the training, we're going to be able to cover the shortage in the future.
Right. That's great. It's a fascinating subject. We could talk about it all day, but I'm going to finish on one question, and it's really to do with production managers of the future. I mean, do we really think that future production managers are going to have to be versed in data analytics and things like this because of all the data that's coming back off the line with the smart factory initiatives? They're essentially going to be the bottlenecks to try and interpret that information. What do you think?
With regards to production managers,
right,
or as opposed to production engineers, well,
correct,
all of them need to be much more familiar with data, because
right,
you're going to make a much higher quality data decision or decision if it's based on data as opposed to opinion or feeling or things like that. So
right,
we are in an age now with Industry 4.0 and technologies that are able to get us a lot more data so we can do data-based decisions. But it really needs, is it mandatory that you have an advanced degree in order to do that? I don't think so. There are a lot of good quality programs where you can take an existing engineer, promote them into a manager position, get them training, and they can get enough of the advanced analytics in a couple-day course. Many of the universities that we partner with offer things like this because, frankly, trying to send your production manager off to get an advanced degree is not going to help you do your production tomorrow because, again, it's scarce resources. So it really is the more we can better define the requirements that are required for each position in the industry, whether it's an operator or an engineer or a manager, the better the industry and the education groups can partner to make sure the right training programs and disciplines are available. We work with Pepperdine, RIT, many different programs, North Carolina, and as we talk with them, and they're doing some research on the people that even engineers coming in, they're saying they're not really ready for the workplace. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to understand what those gaps are as we talk to industry. So IPC has established something we call the JTA, Job Task Analysis Committee. There's right now over 50 companies across the globe that are part of that, really identifying what are the jobs that are hardest to fill. And then beyond that, they go through and they're saying, okay, what are the skills that are required to do each of those jobs? So you can create those in a stackable nature and then move from one position to the next. So as you go from an inspection engineer, maybe to a QA engineer, to a line manager, to a production manager, it's really not trying to reinvent the wheel and have to do a whole new degree, but really trying to understand what the additive bits are that need to be trained on. But that has to come from industry. Mm-hmm. It's not just academic. Academic helps us fill those courses and build those courses. IPC also works with industry to make sure that the courses that we're providing really are meeting the industry's needs. And so it's a hard problem. The reason it's not solved is it's multivariable. I mean, you've got people today in the industry that need better education. We've got people who are trying to change industries that we're trying to educate. You've got people coming up through the school system that we need to change some perceptions on and get them into it. So there's a lot of effort, and that's why it takes all of us to do it.
Right, absolutely, and I think it's going to be ongoing for a long time to come.
For sure, it's not a short-term solution.
I know. Anyway, we're running out of time, I'm afraid. So I'm afraid we're going to have to end our conversation here. I want to thank you, John Mitchell from IPC.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny Wang from H Technologies, and Najat Bandiria. There we go. From Naprotect. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for watching.